GOD Times of CTR. Gaming communities are often welcoming and approachable, though they can have less inviting aspects. Players want their communities to grow, and new faces are essential for their survival. However, not every door is open for everyone who joins a Discord server. Over time, intimate cliques, group chats, and smaller spaces naturally form, fostering deeper friendships beyond the game itself. For newcomers, these social walls can feel intimidating. Yet, in older communities, they come with a wealth of culture and history, elements that shape the bonds between players, and sometimes parts of that history evolve into rituals of initiation, milestones that, when reached, are celebrated by everyone. In 2005, the French CTR player Arsène Lupin decided to build a website for time trial records, inspired by the leaderboard format of Mario Kart. He called it CTR Forever, after an inside joke among friends that CTR is a game you can never truly quit. Together with fellow player Kang, Arsène created a set of time standards providing an objective and permanent measure of skill based on their expertise and knowledge of the game. At the top of these standards was the rank of God. The God times were roughly rounded from world records at the time, meant to define what was achievable, but only just. The first ascension. One player, Crash Team Faking, also known as CTF, became captivated by this challenge. CTF was not the reigning champion yet, but he had some world records to his name. Determined to prove it was possible for a single player to conquer every God time, CTF set his sights on this seemingly impossible goal. Over time, he dominated the CTR Forever leaderboards across all metrics, cementing his place at the top. And finally, in December 2006, after an intense journey of skill growth and perseverance, CTF achieved his dream by beating his final missing God time. He became the first God, accomplishing a feat some had believed unattainable. The community celebrated him as almost superhuman. His achievement was not just a checklist. It became the gold standard for greatness. To achieve the God rank is to earn an elite status that demands consistency, luck, precision, dedication, skill, and a leap of faith. Faith in your ability to overcome all obstacles. Today, 62 players have carved their names into the community's Hall of Fame by achieving the God status. Beyond the recognition, makes you a respected voice in the community, someone whose advice is sought after, someone admired by newcomers and recognized by veterans. Even if it's all rooted in an 18-year-old inside joke, godhood remains one of the most revered milestones in CTR history. In this video, I will go through 6 tracks that exemplify the kinds of skills you need to become a CTR god. Tiny Arena, Polar Pass, Cortex Castle, Blizzard Bluff, and Hot Air Skyway Lap. Tiny Arena is the longest track in the game, a marathon of skill and endurance. As a child, I used to wonder if it was possible to drive a lap in under a minute. The idea seemed impossible. At the age of 11, I discovered CTR Forever, and with it, a revelation. Not only had a few people achieved this feat, but some of them had gone even further. The God standards for Tiny Arena are set at 2:59 for the course and 59 for a single lap. In technical terms, these are not the hardest God standards in the game, but they test something in a unique way. your endurance, consistency, and tolerance for pressure. Few tracks require the same level of sustained focus, where a single mistake can undo minutes of progress. Both of these standards were first surpassed by Thomas 60 in June 2005, a historic record for the community. Since then, 85 players have achieved the core standard and 84 have reached the lap time. These numbers may sound low, but they could be even lower, if not for one thing: the controversial Linkser shortcut. There is a second way to achieve the God rank for Tiny Arena. One that is arguably easier but requires an incredible amount of luck. This method, known as the Linkser, bypasses the raw technical skills required for the traditional approach, replacing it with a reliance on chance. The Linkser is divisive within the community. On one hand, it is a legitimate strategy. It is allowed under the rules, and it still counts towards becoming a god. On the other hand, it denies players the growth and mastery that come from grinding out the track through skill and practice. While I would encourage players to take the traditional route, some players may prefer to go for the luck-based option, just because of its tantalizing promise of faster results. The God time for Polar Pass is one of the most polarizing challenges on the path to godhood. It is defined by the Polar Pass mega shortcut, a massive jump that saves many seconds each lap, but requires impeccable timing, precision, and nerves of steel. By the time Polar Pass is one of your last remaining God times, chances are you've already honed the skills necessary to succeed in terms of driving. But knowing how to execute the shortcut and actually finishing a run in under 2 minutes are entirely different things. Small mistakes often prove fatal, leaving you just short of the God threshold. And sometimes the mega shortcut itself becomes an insurmountable wall. There is even a player whose only missing God time is, and likely will always be, Polar Pass course, a testament to its brutality. Statistically speaking, if your probability of making the shortcut is 30%, then 97% of your attempts will die from this shortcut alone. The key to success is improving your success rate here, as the shortcut is entirely skill-based. But this does not even account for everything else standing in your way. The so-called big boy gap, a deceptively tricky launch where poor alignment spells disaster. The second shortcut. If you go for the faster style here, it's a precision nightmare that demands perfected controls. And of course, the seals. These maddening obstacles seem perfectly placed to ruin every single run that is on pace. Polar Pass was one of the first gods to be achieved, done by Arsène Lupin during summer 2003. But he was far ahead of his competition at the time. In fact, the run was considered so impressive, the standard was based on it, as the community in 2005 felt anything more was too improbable. As of today, 80 players have achieved this record. Cortex Castle is the ultimate, clinical, and the brutalist skill check on the path to godhood. Unlike other tracks, there is no luck involved here. The cycles are predictable, speed remains constant, and success hinges entirely on your ability to cut corners perfectly and maximize your boost reserves. The God time standard is a 204, which may seem like an oddly specific number, but it is steeped in history. It is a nod to Kang's legendary 204-24, a groundbreaking run from the early days of the community. When the God Times had been defined in 2005, Kang returned to cement his legacy by finishing the goal with a 2:03.99, symbolic triumph that set the bar for all who followed, all 78 of them. While some standards have softened with new tricks or region-specific advantages from NTSCJ, Cortex Castle remains almost as punishing today as it was in 2005. No tricks or shortcuts can save you here. It is a pure test of mechanical skill and consistency. One of the critical challenges lies in mastering the spider cycles. To meet the God standard, it is essentially mandatory to thread the needle between the wall and the spider at least once during the race. The cycles are relentless, leaving no room for hesitation. But even if you conquer the spiders, Cortex Castle has a way of punishing players in the final moments. For less experienced racers, running out of reserves on lap 3 is a very real challenge, and can spell doom just as the finish line comes to view. Worse yet is the experience of crashing into the final corner on a PB pace. Much like Cortex Castle, Blizzard Bluff has remained largely unchanged in terms of difficulty over the years. For the average player attempting God Times, this track stands as one of the most perplexing and technically demanding challenges. Blizzard Bluff forces players to understand speed in ways that go beyond simply spamming Froggy after a downhill. For the first time, you are confronted with the reality that not losing speed is just as important, if not more important, than gaining speed. The section after the boulder requires deep intuition of the game's physics. Success on this track demands constant awareness of your momentum, and this is not always easy, as visual cues can be imperfect and deceptive. The track requires a three-dimensional understanding of lines, thanks to its combination of cliff drops and repeating up and down hills. Each section demands precise, deliberate movement if you hope to retain crucial speed needed to meet the God standard. Moreover, buffered double jumps are essential here, more than on any other track. For players who have not yet understood this technique, Blizzard Bluff can be a frustrating experience, as failing to execute these jumps consistently results in a loss of valuable time. The track rewards players who have an innate sense of timing and positioning, making it particularly challenging for those still grappling with the subtleties of the game's mechanics. Blizzard Bluff course was one of the last God Times to be achieved, finally being overcome by Skandu, January 2006. As of today, 81 players have completed this feat. Hot Air Skyway Lap can be described as the final jump to godhood. Though not necessarily the hardest, it is undoubtedly the most intimidating God Time. Its unique mechanics combined with its stressful nature have made it the most common final God Time for many players on their journey. This challenge requires strong execution. As a lap time category, it necessitates reserve stacking on the previous lap, limiting attempts and creating a pressure-filled setup for every serious try. The lap's requirements for speed and cornering are curiously stringent, for demanding either mastery of precise cornering techniques, advanced speed tech, or, ideally, both. But what truly makes Hot Air Skyway such a difficult God Time is not its speed or cornering requirements, or even the fact you need to stack reserves. It is the mega shortcut. In 2005, this was by far the hardest shortcut to execute, and you needed to perform it at the very end of an already difficult lap. The God standard of 33 seconds owes its origins to Arsène Lupin, one of the community's early legends. In June 2003, Lupin achieved a remarkable 33:01, an agonizing fraction of a second away from breaking the sub-33 barrier. At the time, this record seemed almost perfect already, so the standard was set exactly at 33. After defining the standards in 2005, in July, Lupin finally surpassed the 33-second barrier with a 32:77, cementing his milestone as a rite of passage for aspiring gods. Thus, the reason Hot Air Skyway Lap is often the final god time on a player's checklist is simple. It is not worth it to bother with the lap until you've already mastered the game. The skills and patience required are beyond most players until they have fully internalized the mechanics of CTR. For this standard, dedicated lap attempts are almost always necessary, as laps during course attempts alone rarely suffice to meet the god standard. As of today, only 72 players have ever achieved a sub-33 time on Hot Air Skyway Lap, making it the least achieved god time in the game's history. For those who succeed, it is a flashy and fitting way to conclude the journey to godhood, a symbolic leap that signifies mastery of CTR's techniques. Thanks for watching.